Presidential aides honor Nigerian leader as he turns 75.
President Muhammadu Buhari to attend ceremony marking 59th anniversary of the proclamation of Republic of Niger.
Taraba State Government flags off free hepatitis screening and treatment program.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, our focus is on the plight of internally displaced persons, IDPs, in Nigeria.
All right, let's begin this way. Have you ever wondered what life could be if, owing to no fault of yours, you are internally displaced by natural disaster or conflict from your home and traditional support structure? Now, do you ever imagine leaving camp shelter with no form of livelihood and only relying, of course, on the benevolence of others for food and medicals and, of course, other needs?
Well, Clark, the questions you have posed would, in fact, aptly describe the experience of one of the most vulnerable segments of the population, usually referred to as internally displaced persons, that is to say, IDPs. Now, in Nigeria, communal conflicts, as well as majorly now the activities of Boko Haram in the northeast, have resulted in threats not just to life and property, but also in the deaths of many, plus the displacement of hundreds of thousands of people.
All right, let's quickly attempt to give you some grim statistics, and that's according to Displacement Tracking Metrics, DTM, an information management tool that's used worldwide to gather information on the status and location of internally displaced persons. Now, about 2 million IDPs are in Adamawa, Bauchi, Borno, Gombe, Taraba, and Yobe states.
Now, the National Emergency Management Agency, that's NEMA, has also identified over 47,000 IDPs in states such as Plateau, Nasarawa, Kano, and Kaduna states. Now, but the highest number of IDPs is to be found in Borno State, with nearly 700,000, followed by Adamawa with again over 200,000, and Yobe has some 135,000 IDPs. Now, most of those in Adamawa are said to have been displaced by communal clashes.
All right, now, as it were, reports from the various camps that we've talked about paint a rather disturbing picture of neglect, abuse, violence, sexual assault, hunger and malnutrition, of course, ravaging diseases, cholera, blindness, and deaths among the IDP population. Now, the current statistics of the National Population Commission estimates that 80% of IDPs are women and children. It's rather very unfortunate, Kingsley. Well,
that's right, Claire. Now, a communique that was issued at the end of a town hall meeting by the Say No campaign, together with the Center for Peace at the Modibo Adama University of Science, University of Technology at Yola, painted a more disturbing picture, especially with regard to the disbursement and utilization of funds meant for the IDPs. Now, the communique also focused on sexual assault and exploitation perpetrated by camp officials and security operatives. Insecurity and poor sanitary conditions at the camps were also matters that the communique addressed.
All right, Kingsley, in addition to the issues that the communique noted, corruption is also part of it in IDP camps, which it said is a systemic problem involving collaboration of the critical stakeholders, of course, of the IDP camps. Like, of course, according to the communique, it mentioned the government, international NGOs, CSOs, and camp officials. And that's from the point of supply of relief materials, transit, and onto the campsite. Officials connive and, divert supplies and, to some extent, commercialize them, according to, again, this communique, for personal gains.
Now, participants at the forum to which we're referring included representatives of the IDP camps, the academia, civil society organizations, religious groups, state government officials, as well as private individuals in the Northeast. Now, they accused civil society organizations of receiving funds from foreign donors to supply food and medical relief to IDP camps. But rather than deliver, the CSOs, according to the participants at the forum, merely hoisted banners to feign delivery of those supplies, while the materials, as it were, ended up in their private clinics and in marketplaces.
Now, a case in point is the widely publicized delivery of only 20 trucks carrying 600 bags of grains, each to IDP camps, out of which, out of the 260 trucks earmarked for the helpless victims of insurgency by the Presidential Committee on Emergency Food Distribution in the Northeast. Now, nothing has been heard about the whereabouts of the remaining 240 trucks of those grains.
Now, but far more disturbing is the issue that, of course, relates to what camp officials are alleged to be doing. And, of course, these include also the security operatives and the officials of community-based organizations and CBOs that are working in the various camps. Now, they are alleged, some of them, to sexually harass women and girls on the camps, and also to solicit sexual favors in exchange for food and other supplies. This, according to reports, has led now to the alarming increase of HIV-positive pregnant women in the communities as a result of the sexual exploitation that they suffer in the camps.
Of course, you may be wondering why, of course, we've taken up this issue of IDPs today. The various stakeholders, in collaboration that are helping to provide care, have raised alarm of, millions of IDPs in several camps across the country that are in need of life-saving relief materials. So, what is the exact figure of internally displaced persons here in Nigeria? Where are they? Where are they located? And again, another very pertinent question is, why is Nigeria not able to respond effectively to the challenges of caring for, of course, close to the 2 million internally displaced persons? And why has cases of insecurity, abuses in the camps, of course, we talked about sexual exploitation of female IDPs, remain unabated? What should be done?
Well, those questions and several others will engage our attention in our discussion segment on Good Morning Nigeria today, which is reaching you on the program live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We're Africa's largest TV network, and we are broadcasting right now from our Abuja headquarters studios. My name is Kingsley Osadola. Welcome to the program.
Indeed, I am Claire Dilabo Abdul Razak. Joining my Kingsley, of course, to welcome you as always to the program.
I'm not your Kingsley, I'm your colleague.
Don't worry, Kingsley. And I was just going to say, Kingsley, if you recall, the last time we had a program from Borno State, we actually went to one of those, IDP camps, and we did a special on the, some of the most vulnerable people affected, and that's the orphans.
That's right.
The orphans. Very pathetic situation, we brought with regards to, the conditions in which they live, with regards to the access to food and other, welfare needs. And I think this is very important that we're taking up.
Yeah, but it would also appear now from the outcome of the forum that took place in Yola that some persons are living on the misery, benefiting on the misery of the IDPs.
Because what you really find, there's a wide gap between the pledged commitment from all the stakeholders and what the reality on ground in those IDP camps.
Precisely.
Very wide gap. Very wide gap. Also, in the course of our programs, we have the rest of our segments, and hopefully we'll be taking all of them. That's including newspaper review, business, sports, foreign, and arts and entertainment. Right now, we have Joy Osiago, who will be taking up our news. And Joy, again, we did say women and children are the most vulnerable when we talk about IDPs and all that. And that's quite unfortunate for us.
I know, right, Claire? And I'm expecting that civil society organizations on location should monitor and do some assessment so that we can hold those in charge accountable.
Precisely, Joy. Please get on with the news.
A very good morning to you and welcome to the news. President Muhammadu Buhari, widely acclaimed as Nigeria's selfless leader of honor and integrity, is 75. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the Nigerian leader was surprised into a celebratory mood by the presidential aides.
I think I enjoyed good health until quite recently throughout my life. It's a wonderful experience, and I'm very pleased my staff and the family and my friends succeeded in surprising me today by bringing cards and coming to have photographs with me. I was not expecting it at all. I thought it's just like every Sunday in the week I will have a complete rest, but it has been crowded so far.
What can you tell Nigerians that have been praying for you and looking up to you for leadership?
My medical vacation revealed one thing which I was not sure about. I understand across the country people were praying, whether Muslims or Christians or whatever they are. I was overwhelmed by the kindness of Nigerians throughout, that they were really bothered about my health. And I think that helped a lot to stabilize the polity.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari will this Monday attend the 59th proclamation of the Republic of Niger ceremony in Tahar, Niger. A statement from the Senior Special Assistant to the President, Media and Publicity, Malam Garba Shehu, says the President, alongside the Presidents of Mali, Burkina Faso, Chad, Mauritania and Niger, will participate in the historic event held every year on December 18th to commemorate the founding of the Republic of Niger and creation of the presidency. After the ceremony, the Nigerian leader will hold bilateral meetings with some of his counterparts before returning to Abuja later today. President Buhari will be accompanied on the trip by Governors Aminu Masari of Katsina, Ibrahim Gaidam of Yobe, and Kashim Shettima of Borno State. The Federal Executive Council has approved the sum of over $2.8 billion United States dollars for the gas line contract proposed by the Ministry of Petroleum Resources. The move, which is in line with the present administration's commitment towards national development, marks an important landmark in the implementation of the first phase of the Nigerian Gas Master Plan. President Muhammadu Buhari expressed confidence that the initiative will no doubt boost the socio-economic lives of benefiting regions. The Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has charged heads of units and army formations to be responsible and professional while discharging their constitutional mandate. Lieutenant General Buratai gave the charge at the graduation of the Junior Course 84 of the Armed Forces Command and Staff College in Kaduna. The Army Chief urged the 171 graduates to brace up for the dynamism in the emerging security challenges across the country.
Your sense of judgment in applying these skills will even be more apparent now that we are confronting a lot of internal security challenges in the country, most especially the menace of the Boko Haram terrorist group and the renewed militancy in the Niger Delta.
Chief of Army Staff also appraised the 228 pioneer female combats being trained in counter-terrorism. Now, to ensure Nigeria's continued unity, citizens must learn to tolerate each other's religion and cultural orientation with fervent prayers for the peace of the nation. This was the opinion of the former head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, at the dedication of the Commonwealth Covenant Church, built single-handedly by His Royal Highness Apollos, the traditional ruler of Okri, Eleme Kingdom in Rivers State.
In the name of the Father, Amen. The Son, Amen. And the Holy Spirit. Amen.
The Okori people and Eleme people I can find in Fika. If there's any station in Fika and my people, then in Fika they have some station. I can say the traditional ruler there is my friend.
The Taraba State government has flagged off a free hepatitis screening and treatment program across the state. The state governor, Darius Dixon Ishaku, while performing the ceremony, called on the citizens to take responsibility for their health by ensuring they participate in the program.
Prevention, they say, is better and cheaper than cure. Viral hepatitis is a clear example. The huge resources that will be committed into the treatment can be put into other developmental projects. So let us all take collective action to protect our health.
And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll be back with Claire and Kingsley after this break.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment, features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem frontally through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Cold and flu can spread through the contact of hands. And in such situations, I can't risk falling ill. So I recommend Dettol, as it protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why I want to be Dettol sure. Dettol, be 100%.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped. We are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime. We bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
Commercial bus drivers in some of our major cities are daily subjected to this trend.
Give me your money. I be staff. I'm a uniform man. I'm a force man.
Is this a right or a privilege or sheer arm twisting?
Driver, if like say we no go see anything take chop today, because na so staff and award and World Cup full this bus.
Alas, how will they earn daily bread if we all get our bus rides for free? Staff and award. Another rib-cracking episode of Professor Jumbo comes your way this week to make you think and laugh like never before. Keep a date with us.
I want to know the kind of staff we will be. Police staff, army staff, or criminal staff, which one will be?
Special unit.
Special unit.
And that's what Over and
Brought to you by Glow.
The largest data network, Glow Unlimited.
Dettol team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold? No! They are spread through germs which are everywhere. You collect germs that cause diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands and taking your bath with Dettol soap to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Wash your hands. What you have to do is bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash your hands.
All right, you're welcome back. But if you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now it's time for us to look at business stories. And here's our correspondent, Kolo Muhammad.
Good morning and welcome to Business News. Governor of Nigeria's Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, at an event in Nsukka, called on the youths of Nigeria to avoid sleepwalking into their future. He encouraged them to outpace the perceived societal setbacks and innovatively reapply business concepts already in existence while working on new ideas for business. The governor decried the absence of sufficient entrepreneurial mindset inculcated in the minds of young graduates, which reduces them to desperate job seekers instead of becoming employers of labor. He added that global economies doing well are not run by government but private sector driven and currently in the hands of young entrepreneurs.
In the area of health, can you as a young person please think about an app where, for instance, daddy or mommy is sick? Maybe just says, look, I don't want to go to the hospital, but he clicks an app and finds a doctor. Either a doctor responds or a doctor comes to the home depending on the nature of the illness. And the doctor writes a prescription. And a pharmacy finds job. And maybe after doctor's visits can be conducted and they find a nurse that can come to the home. It's not about saying that you're taking jobs away from the hospital, but it's about creating comfort in healthcare business.
He closed his remarks acknowledging few Nigerians are doing well on the global scene. And Africa's working population have not only fallen within the confines of the working poor, according to the International Labour Organization, but that social security is virtually absent. With minimal presence of retirement plans, most Africans enjoy the same unacceptable faith in their working as well as retirement years. The International Labour Organization says African families require an enlarged and workable social security structure if Africa intends to get up and be counted and reckoned with on the global scene.
One of the biggest problems also we are facing in Africa around jobs is the fact that workers do not have all the rights that basically they should have. And in a lot of countries, the countries have ratified what we call the ILO conventions around protection of workers' rights. Now the challenge still remains. It's not just about the ratification, but it's also about the enforcement.
The International Labour Organization, ILO, offers assistance to countries in the design and implementation of social security structure for citizens. And in this week leading up to the climax of the Yuletide, investors are upbeat as trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange opens today for the week. Keep a date with Business News for prompt updates on the goings-on in the equities market. That's it for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly. Many thanks for your time.
All right, that was Kolo Mohammed on Business News. Kolo, we thank you. Coming up next, of course, will be newspaper review. Stay with us.
The Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture, the Made in Nigeria campaign. In the midst of unprecedented multiple challenges, our great country Nigeria, as Africa's largest economy, is surely marching on to a new era of all-round prosperity, especially through re-engineered and diversified economy, powerfully driven by the change agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR.
We will patronize local entrepreneurs. We will promote the manufacturing powerhouses. Our objective is to make Nigeria a new manufacturing hub.
It is not time to complain. It is time to join the campaign. It is time for economic recovery, growth and diversification of our economy by Made in Nigeria.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. Every day, 16,000 children under the ages of 5 and thousands of adults die from infectious diseases. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily. In unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilet, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 Cap Full for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid, to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol Sure. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
It's that time of the year when we appreciate all those that mean so much to us. Our sponsors, our clients, government at all levels, corporate bodies, advertisers, religious bodies, civil society groups, political parties, businesses, and above all, you, our esteemed viewers. Together, we made 2017 great. Together, we shall make 2018 even greater. That's why we say thank you. Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
Hate speech is not a joke. It incites genocide and crimes against humanity. Most of Africa's civil wars are caused by hate speech from one tribe against another. We don't want it here. The Nigerian government stands firm against hate speech.
I was distressed to notice that some of the comments, especially in the social media, have crossed our national red lines by daring to question our collective existence as a nation. This is a step too far.
One nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Nigeria, one nation, one people.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
Newspaper reviewer Bayo Atoebe is right here with us for today's edition of Review. Bayo, morning and welcome.
Morning, Kingsley.
Okay.
It's a week to Christmas and 2 weeks to New Year, and how time flies. Just, it looks as a few months ago we said Happy New Year, and now the end of the year. Good morning, Claire. Good morning, Nigeria.
All right, so
that's how it is.
Celebration is in the air. But we have, I said celebration is in the air already, but there are disturbing stories with regard to the fuel situation. And that's the lead story for the Punch newspaper and also the lead for the Nigerian Pilot. Now, the Punch newspaper has it this way. It says, fear queues reappear in Lagos, persist in Abuja and others. With 2 riders as oil workers begin strike today, DSS invites Pengassan and NNPC meets union. Details of that story can be found on page 29. For the Nigerian Pilot, the story comes as this. It says, chef strike, minister begs Pengassan. That's on page 5 in greater detail. Claire.
Yes, I also have that story, Kingsley, and the two papers I have, that's the New Telegraph and the Daily Sun. For the New Telegraph, it comes this way: fuel crisis to worsen as oil workers begin strike. Again, it comes with two riders. Kachuku's peace parley ends in stalemate. The details of that, it's on page 2, Kingsley. You just read something about the minister begging Pengassan. This is saying that the parley has ended in stalemate now, and federal government begs Pengassan to shelve industrial action. That's how the New Telegraph puts that story. And for the Daily Sun, it's also similar caption. Fuel scarcity expands, stations sell above 145 naira. Abuja, Southeast, Port Harcourt, Lagos, others affected. Pengassan insists on nationwide strike, while federal government pleads. The details of that you can find on pages 2 and 8. Bayo, let's start with this. Appears that the celebrations might be,
yes,
marred by this outcome.
Claire, if you saw the fuel queues as an injury, then the Pengassan strike is salt to the injury. The NNPC, DPR are all making frantic efforts to fill in the void from imported petrol. Petrol is being moved from strategic reserve to filling stations so that at least we can overcome the challenge of queues. But the latest development, where minister is said to be appealing to Pengassan, that is the Senior Staff Association of Petroleum Gas and Association of Nigeria, they are declared a strike after 7 days based on a dispute they have with an agency, the Conde Energy Services. They have sacked some of their members. So they are now twisting government to compel government for that agency to recall their staff. They gave 7 days ultimatum. The minister invited them to a meeting on 13 and 14, that's last Wednesday and Thursday. And after the meeting, agreement was reached. The Conde is to invite the SAC branch chairman and others to discuss. Meanwhile, there was an agreement that Pengassan on this part should hold back their strike pending reconvening in the second week of January, by which time all these issues will have been discussed. But by midnight today, before this morning, Pengassan has declared total strike. And that is going to worsen the petrol situation. In fact, it's like I'm twisting the Minister of Labour and indeed government and Nigerians for their SAC staff, and all of us will have to be punished for this worsening petrol crisis. Sad again in Jos. It is only the NNPC stations that have fuel. Most stations don't have fuel. Indeed. In fact, the queue at the NNPC station is said to be about 2 kilometers. And worse of it, a filling station, they were trying to move petrol from one tanker to the other and ignited fire. 2 persons were killed and about 8 vehicles were also burned. You know, Bayo, in MNK district area where I live, the queue is something else. And, while we report in other parts of the, capital city, queues shortening or thinning out, in those parts of satellite town, the story is otherwise. It will be worse. Why? Because the observation is that within the Abuja metropolis, the Federal Capital Territory, in the city, the fuel stations have queues, but at least it's moving. It's moving. In the outskirts, the filling stations don't sell fuel. At night, it is alleged that they sell fuel, and that is alleged to be the sources of the black marketeers who are populating the streets.
Bayo, there was a report over the weekend about some 144 fuel trucks that were discovered by NNPC and security officials in Kano. And these trucks were fully laden with PMS. So that's probably will be an indication of what perhaps is happening with regard to hoarding. 144 trucks. You can imagine if those trucks, if the trucks had deposited their cargo, yes, at the various dump sites that they were supposed to have deposited them. So it's a point. But the Pengassan issue, you've already discussed that. If you recall, Pengassan is the Senior Staff Association.
Yes.
It is the NUPENG that usually those are the ones who will be delivering they handle the trucks and so on and so forth. So what is the immediate connection between Pengassan going on strike and then the panic that we are seeing with regard to fear queues? But I'm sure these are matters that we'll work on subsequently. But let's take another story. This is a continuing story. This is from the Punch as well, and it's also there on the front page of the Independent newspaper, above the nameplate of the Punch. It says military budgets 38 billion naira for weapons in 2018. Now, beside the earpiece, beside the nameplate, you have two earpieces there. One of them says $1 billion Boko Haram fund. Reps leader says National Assembly lacks power over ECA. ECA stands for Excess Crude Account, and PDP tackles federal government. And you have the story here also on the front page of the Independent newspaper. Just immediately below the nameplate of the Independent newspaper, it says Serap to Buhari explained $1 billion anti-insurgency fund, with another story, of course, indicating that Wike, that's the governor of Rivers, is asking for similar intervention with regard to environmental degradation and insecurity in the Niger Delta. All right, Kingsley, let me follow up with what you've just on the $1 billion insurgency. It's also a story on the front page, just a little below the nameplate. You can find it. PDP APC Baker over $1 billion insurgency fund. Details of that on page 10. There are other trending stories right there. You can see them. And Bayo, would also like you to quickly, as you review these stories, look at the picture stories, of course, that have made all the front page of all the papers. That's the birthday boy, birthday man. All right, the birthday, the present it's right there on the front pages. You see all the governors and of course the different an array of cakes, in different colors there, of course, celebrating. Yeah, there's a particular photograph. If you can see that, Bayo, take a look at it again. Yes. That's the photograph. Yes. No, if we can get that photograph back on the screen, you can see that's the governor. If we can have a closer shot of that, you see that's Governor Yari. And the governor with his hand on his shoulder is Rochas or Korocha. Was he trying to ask him to say, look, give way, let me also appear? No, he wants to have a closer view of the different cakes, yes. That's right. And of course, the governor of Nasarawa State is also at the back there, trying to catch a glimpse of what it is to be 75.
Well, happy birthday to Mr. President. At 75, he has pulled over the challenges he had about his health, and he spoke about that. He said he was highly touched by all Nigerians across faith paths who prayed for him, and he was overwhelmed. In fact, the birthday thing was to him a surprise, because usually as Commander-in-Chief there's always a parade by the Brigade of Guards, but that was not to be. But nevertheless, he was pleasantly surprised. And he did say he didn't like surprises because in the military, it was a tactic. You don't surprise a general. It's called ambush. So he was ambushed.
Yeah, just before we close the newspaper review segment, there's a story. We have the headlines on the front pages of at least two of the papers that we have, and my focus actually is on the way it's been couched. Yeah. There's no alarm or sensation on it, but it just says, for the Punch newspaper, for instance, above the nameplate, it says Dangote BUA in war of words over mining site. And then you also have it on the front page of the Independent newspaper. It says Dangote accuses BUAE of illegally mining limestone on his properties. It's also on the front page of New Telegraph? Yes, engaging on my side. Illegal mining. Yeah, but if it had been sensational, it would have been Dangote Rabiu at war. We really don't have time. What do you have to say?
Just quickly, two things. The $1 billion ECA fund is causing ripples. But however, the Minister of Defense explained it over the weekend. He said it is to acquire equipment, and this followed a meeting they had with Ministers of Defense and Chief of Staff of the West African sub-region. However, Governor Shetima has warned that such issues, particularly with security, should not be politicized. I don't have my yellow card. Yes, but you don't have it. Yes, I don't. But I will stop you. I was going to draw attention to another story. Lagos Airport, aircraft taxiing to disembark passengers was robbed. That is the second instance in Lagos.
Yeah, the
Federal Airport Authority is investigating.
All right, Bayo, thank you. I'm told to round you off. We'll see you again tomorrow. And today on Good Morning Nigeria, let's remind you again of our focus. We're looking at the plight of IDPs, that's the internally displaced persons in different camps across Nigeria. Let's listen into this background report by Timothy Yusuf to set the ball rolling.
People forced to flee their native home to seek refuge elsewhere but within their country's borders are regarded as internally displaced persons, IDPs. Causes are tied to communal clashes, natural disasters, and most prominent today is insurgency attacks by extremists. According to Internal Displacement Monitoring Center, IDMC, most recent publication in May 2016, 2007 local government areas are of concern, covering 13 states of northern Nigeria. In all, over 2 million people at the time of this report are said to be in IDP camps, a situation described as saddening and horrible. Meanwhile, analysts say Nigeria has Africa's largest population of displaced persons, with 3.3 million persons displaced by conflict. This information is contained in another report titled Global Overview 2014. Violence, abuses, and forced evictions all add to the conflict mix in many of these situations. On a global scale, Nigeria is only ranked behind Syria with 6.5 million IDPs and Colombia with 5.7 million IDPs. The report explains the unprecedented rise in IDPs in Nigeria by the increased number of Boko Haram attacks, heavy-handed counter-insurgency operations, and incessant intercommunal violence. Despite government's huge resources expended on the care for IDPs, malnutrition in both adults and children is believed to be at an alarming rate. The worst affected are children. The signs and symptoms were recorded by an April 2015 UNICEF report titled Missing Childhoods. The report states that children in the camps showed an 18% threshold of malnutrition, which is above the globally recognized emergency threshold of 15. There are also issues of sexual abuse leading to women coming in pregnant after enduring months of rape from the terrorist groups, malnourished children and traumatized adults. This high level of exploitation of IDPs has reached staggering heights, as UNICEF reported receiving only 15% of the $26.5 million from humanitarian support in Nigeria. As part of Nigeria's response to the humanitarian crisis, the Victim Support Fund is reported to have raised 58.79 billion naira in 2014, but there are no images of solace being provided for its beneficiaries. If the most important of all basic necessities such as food is allegedly being carted away by officials, what else is going on in these camps unknown to the public and concerned authorities?
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channels at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
All right, now we have two guests with us to kick off our conversation. They will be joined by other guests in the course of the discussion. First, at this time, I would like to welcome Engineer Mustafa Mehaja. He is the Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. Engineer Mehaja, pleasure to have you with us again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you.
Okay. Also here with us in the studios, we normally will have him via Skype from Yola, but today is live with us in the Abuja studios is Dr. Omar Bindri, Secretary to the Adamawa State Government. Dr. Bindri, it's a pleasure to have you with us.
It's a pleasure to be in this new outfit.
Gentlemen, we would like to welcome you for this conversation. Let me start with Kingsley, if you don't mind. Let me just start with the Director General, NEMA, probably to give us, the little overview of what the situation with the IDPs in the different, camps is.
Well, the IDP spread across the northeast, mainly Borno, Yobe, and Adama, but there are still some IDPs in Bauchi, Gombe, and Taraba. The situation generally is a sad event where, as a result of the insurgency, so many people were displaced. Camps were established, but interestingly, some camps are being closed because the activities have scaled down drastically. The ones that we have, NEMA take the management of the camps. Federal government, in its effort this year, responds very positively by releasing about 40,905 metric tons of assorted grains, and have been distributed by NEMA in a fashion that has never been seen in the country, a door-to-door distribution. The previous activities was people are lined up, they queue up in the sun for over so many hours. But when we came, this government said, no, we have to put stop to that. They must be treated with dignity.
Just before we get into the details of the treatment of IDPs or the the level of succor that the IDPs are getting at this time, do we have a sense of the population of the IDPs in the various locations, and where do we have the most concentration? Perhaps obviously it will be Borno, which has been the epicenter of Boko Haram terrorism.
Yes, when we came, before what we call emergency food intervention in Northeast by the federal government, we had to carry out some enumeration of the IDPs. We have a little above 1,500,000 that the federal government feeds. There are other communities outside the main towns of Borno. ICRC and WAP also give some food to them. But generally, it is been estimated to about a little less than 2 million. Why it went up? Because what we did as NEMA, we extended the services to states like Gombe, Bauchi, and Taraba. Most of these IDPs reside with the host communities. Because they are with the host communities, their condition was better because they are staying with their relatives. We felt the facilities by the host communities have been overstretched in terms of food and other related things. So we also took the food, or rather takes the food to the host communities. That increased the number of the people that are being served.
All right, thank you very much, Engineer Mehaja. That's the Director General of NEMA. We'll come back to you later in the course of the conversation. Let's bring in now Dr. Omar Bindri, the Secretary to the Adamawa State Government. Of course, your state has been identified as one that is also host to a number of IDPs, and of course we have considering some of the latest attacks, there will also be persons who have been displaced. What picture is there of the IDPs in Adamawa, for instance?
Well, thank you very much. First, I want to wish the President a happy birthday. But I mean, coming directly back to the question, Adamawa State suffered the effects of the insurgency, 7 of our local governments at the initial stages were literally occupied by the Boko Haram. People were maimed and moved, and that culminated into the IDP centers. But because we were relatively peaceful when Yobe and Borno were heavily attacked, the inflow of people from Yobe and Borno were intensive initially anyway. But the present situation, I'm happy to report that we have reduced the number of IDP centers because we realize that as long as you continue to maintain these centers, the sensitivity of people to respect you, to do with investments, to visit you in terms of tourism, and so on and so forth, will just completely drop. So we took a very, very creative and innovative resettlement program whereby we move these IDPs into communities and not as a group. So because if you create a new village and you move everybody IDP into the village, it becomes an IDP village. We completely went against this. We moved to friendly districts and villages and wards and had very close consultation with the traditional leaders, and now gradually we're getting all these IDPs as families being assimilated by local communities. They have farms, they have traditional housing, and they are now mixing. Their children are going to normal schools within the communities, and they're literally being settled as villagers. To the extent that we have released one of the major IDP centers that had occupied the NYSC's camping area. Now we are camping NYSCs, and everything is normal. So we're on a roll to make sure that we neutralize this effect.
Some time ago, I know some journalists visited, some of the IDP camps across the Northeast, and there was some particular IDP camps that they really pointed out that they said were not recognized by the state government. I think that's one that was called Malkohi or so, which is in Yola. What's the state of those IDP camps now that have not been recognized? And I think you were also quoted to have said that proper channel needed to be followed. You want to
yes, Malkohi is one of the very popular IDP centers because it's a village. The center is literally a school. We also have the community of Malkohi. In fact, 2 days ago, the United Nations project was launched in Malkohi, where they went to establish a women's skill acquisition center. We went there. We were the ones who launched it. But the whole drive, literally, is to boost confidence of people, to give them opportunities to live a normal life, children to understand that this is not
What is the state of that camp now?
The camp
has it been recognized now? Is it now a recognized camp?
There has never been a time when Malkohi was not recognized. Malkohi has always been recognized. And the governor goes to visit Malkohi literally every single day. The last Salah, the celebration we had was in Malkohi. So I don't know where people are getting that Malkohi is not recognized. NEMA and ATSEMA, which is the local emergency management agency, are permanently, literally present in Malkohi. The DG has been to Malkohi many, many times. So I don't know where they...
But are there any camp now in Yola, Adamawa?
Oh yes,
that are still not recognized.
There is no camp that has not been recognized, whether formal or informal, or whether it is within the communities or specified. But as I told you before, our strategy is to minimize this cluster of people defined as IDP camp. It's not a good thing. We are not viciously attacking it, but we are very creatively, intensively looking at it.
Integrating them.
Exactly.
Let's
all right. Well, Dr. Bindra, we'll come back to that again, because this has to do with the governance of internally displaced persons, management of internally displaced persons. But let's introduce at this time the Federal Commissioner who is in charge of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons. That's Sadia Umar Farouk. Hajia Sadia, a pleasure to have you with us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Okay, straight away, let's have your thoughts. What do we know? That's to say, what does your commission know at this time about the population of IDPs arising majorly from the Boko Haram insurgency? And where are they located, and what are their conditions at the moment?
Let me first of all start by saying the commission was initially created to give protection and assistance to refugees and asylum seekers in this country. And by 2009, the mandate of the Commission was expanded to also give assistance to migrants as well as to give durable solutions to internally displaced persons. So here we are with the problem of the insurgency in this country. And we have about 1.8, 1.9 million displaced people in the northeastern part of this country. But we also have displacement in other parts of the country as a result of some disasters, natural disasters, and as well as our brothers and sisters from Bakassi in Cross River State. So by and large, we have over 2 million displaced persons in the country. And the position of the Commission is to proffer durable solutions. We've intervened in that area by visiting the camps and making some needs assessment to see where we can come in to support other government agencies in alleviating the pains of these displaced persons. We also have displaced persons within the host communities. And so we are taking our solutions, our durable solutions to these displaced persons by way of empowerment, skills acquisitions, even to those that are in the camps and those that are living within the host communities. We've visited many areas in the northeastern part of this country. We've taken our support to Adamawa State, Borno State, Yobe, Bauchi, and Gombe State.
All right. Actually, let me ask you, the issue of managing internally displaced persons, it's not just being, championed by government, it's in collaboration with the, some other international, agencies, of course, like the World Food Program. You have UNICEF. You have, of course, other private sectors, making contributions. You also have other interventions by the CSOs and all that. So, what has your commission, found with regards to these commitments, of course, to welfare and to humanitarian aid, and what the reality on ground in these IDP camps?
Well, as you mentioned, there are many actors in these humanitarian activities in the Northeast. And that being in a camp, as was earlier mentioned, is not a good thing. We try as much as possible to see how we can discourage this encampment. But it is inevitable because people can only return back to their respective communities voluntarily and in safety and dignity. So unless, of course, the situation is really very safe for them to return, we'll continue to have these camps. There are many actors on ground, and everybody is doing his possible best to see that we bring some kind of circle to these displaced persons.
Is the number increasing? Because if since the outset of this issue, we've had people on top of it and all that, and we're still having as much as 2 million. Are we having more refugees?
Well, I don't know if you're talking about refugees or IDPs.
IDPs.
Okay, IDPs, of course, they will increase because these people they keep reproducing. So the number will definitely increase. And as I mentioned, displacement is not only in the Northeast. People have moved as far as Kebbi State, northwestern part of this country. They've gone to Lagos. We have displaced people in Lagos. And these people, they seem to have a kind of a normal life because they marry and they reproduce. So definitely the number will increase. But that notwithstanding, and I think the government is doing its best to see how this problem can be put to rest.
Yeah, all right, Haji Asadia, thanks a lot. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. Let's bring in again the DG of NEMA. DG NEMA, what do we know about the number of actors who are involved in the management of IDPs and who plays a coordinating role?
Well, there is a policy of government that we call National Humanitarian Response Plan. It's a policy of government. NEMA is the driving force of that National Humanitarian Response Plans. As far as IDP management, camp management, NEMA is fully responsible in doing that in the Northeast and other places. Like the case of Benue, the camps that was established for some few weeks, it was NEMA that fully managed the camps, provide all the necessary facilities, reliefs that are needed. So NEMA is a coordinating body in terms of national response. However, when the situation got so enormous in the Northeast in 2015 and 16, the government came out with the PCNI, Presidential Committee on Northeast Intervention. So the government, on the presidential directives, gave them the mandate to coordinate activities in the Northeast for a certain period. We are within that period up to now. So they coordinate the activities, humanitarian activities in the Northeast. There are many international partners, about 45 of them, working with us in the Northeast. Majorly ICRC, International Red Cross, WAP, they are major players in terms of food and other associated things. Of course, there is UNICEF also, there is UN OCHA, and so many other like that. Under the coordination of UN OCHA, all the United Nations humanitarian bodies play their roles. They work hand in hand with NEMA. We know where they are. We don't go to where they distribute. We only remain where they are not. So this is how the coordination activities.
What is the, well, thank you, DG. But earlier when you were speaking, and indeed there are reports indicating that there is no remission in the plight of the IDPs. In other words, I mean, IDPs are not expecting clear. They're not expecting 5-star hotel treatment wherever they are. But there are reports of, of malnutrition, starvation, denial of basic needs and necessities. So has there been an assessment, for instance, of the role of these many actors, whether they are INGOs, that's to say international NGOs or local NGOs? I'm asking this question because it's a point that has come up on this program when we took a guest from Maiduguri, and he was saying that Maiduguri, it's awash with 1,000 or so NGOs, and nobody appears to know what they are doing because there's the trickle-down effect to those persons who are internally displaced. It's not being felt.
Well, the issue of malnutrition, it has past issue. It has gone because that is where the government came out with emergency food intervention in the Northeast. It has been very successful. The quantum of food was 40,905 metric tons being distributed to loop and corners of the Northeast. We didn't stop only in the main towns like the case of Yobe State, Damatru, or Yunusari and others. We went down as far as Machina, where there are IDPs, particularly in the host communities. We give them food, we give them all they need within that areas. But like I said, to avoid duplication, wherever the international partners gives food or items, we don't go there. We assess their operations, we assess what they do. We observe that we gave 8.4 kilogram per person per month food items, while they give 4.6. We ask them to scale it up so that we'll have it will be uniform across the areas we distribute the food. So when one said today there is malnutrition or hunger, I begin to wonder where the information is coming, because we are on ground. I go to North is almost, I don't know how many times, wherever there is need, I go to monitor what they do. Other donors are there, the international donors are there. So some of the information sometimes I don't know where they come from.
All right, what DG, Claire, let's bring in again the Federal Commissioner in charge of the Commission for Refugees and IDPs and Migration. What do you know, Haji Asadia, what do you know about reports indicating that persons, who are IDPs are being sexually molested, and there's also sex for favors in terms of food, in terms of other supplies, and that the rosy picture being painted by the DG may in fact not be so, according to some reports.
Well, these are reports we also heard and we've seen on the pages of newspapers, and the government has set up a committee to investigate into such allegations. But as I mentioned earlier, we go to the camps to support these people, the most vulnerable in the camp, and we've had interactions with them, but in no time have we visited the camps that we've come across this kind of reports by the IDPs themselves. We've interviewed the women whom we give skill acquisition supports to, and even in the area of the malnutrition, we take these malnourished children, we assess them, and we take this kind of food supplement to them. And everybody is doing his best to see that we support these internally displaced persons in the camp. But as I mentioned earlier, we really do not support these issues of encampment, but there's nothing we can do. Once we have such number of people in one place, there are bound to be all sorts of things, but I'm sure the government has gone into it and they will bring the culprits to book.
Madam Commissioner, I'd still like to stay with you on the issues again of, sexual and gender-based violence, which of course have been, variously reported, and it's been reported. There's an NGO, of course, that has just visited some parts of the Northeast. The camps have also come back with communique on what they observed in some of those camps. But specifically, Doctors Without Borders, I'm sure you must have heard of some of the reports, have alerted an acute malnutrition and food crisis at some of those camps. Do we, as a commission, have data of those who are in their need of these life-saving food items? Do we have that? And secondly, we can't just talk about this sexually, and gender-based violence and weave it, dismiss it with a wave of the hand. Government is doing it. Are there proactive measures in place to check such abuses?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, these are things that we've heard, but there's no time that we've visited these people and we've had these interactions with them.
But you
won't see them.
But you won't see
them.
Oh,
yes, that's why I said the government has come in. There are security agencies that have that responsibility to investigate these allegations, and I'm sure they are on it. So when they come out with the report, we get to know who are those people that are involved.
How many of such reports do you have as
a commission? I've not had such reports officially to the commission. I've not had any.
What about the issue on acute malnutrition? Do we have data of those who are in the need of such food items and what is being done?
You see, what we do, we take these supplies to them. Whether we have numbers or reports of this, but we feel there is need for these children to be given these food supplements. And we go in, we distribute this food supplement to nursing mothers, to lactating mothers, and that's what we do.
Okay, well, Hajia Sadiya, thanks. We have one other question for you, but let's bring in again the Secretary to the Adamawa State Government. Dr. Bindri, earlier you were talking about what we shall loosely refer to as a temporary integration of IDPs into host communities. But is the picture so flattering that IDPs, nothing is happening to them? They've been temporarily integrated and all is well. What was it that the state government found before the IDPs were decamped, if you like?
Well, you see, this whole scenario, you have to look at it, whether you like it or not. It portrays the proliferation of businesses. Whether it's an NGO working or whatever, it's a business. There are certain NGOs that unless you have a very messy report, terrible pictures, very bad reviews, they will not survive. And for us in Adamawa State, we've decided, we've made a decision. We have a government, we have fought corruption to a standstill. We are giving value for money for every penny. We've changed our state. When you are, if you are in Adamawa State 2 years ago and you are in Adamawa State today, you will know that change has arrived. We've changed everything. And that goes to even the management of the IDPs. We've decided that whoever you are, if you are coming to work in Adamawa State, NGO or GO, we must know. And there was a time when we collected all these major NGOs that work there. We collected them and we said, look, tell us, now that insurgency has stopped, when will this finish? When will we close these camps? What is the rate of reduction or increase, the scientific thing that you claim? They cannot give you an answer. We evolved our own. We keep records of everybody who is we even noticed that there are people who will go to the neighboring villages. They are from the village, Gombe or Hong. They are farming, but because distribution of foodstuff is happening at the centers, they have their slot. So they come back and collect their food and go back. So they are IDPs. So to us, the head of the whole thing that happened was that His Excellency went to China. They had a meeting with some group to do with modification of our water system. And then the Chinese in China told them that they looked at the Adamawa State and they saw IDPs everywhere. And where you see IDPs, it means insurgency is there, insecurity, blah, blah, all the list of bad things. So they said, we will not come to your state. If you want to meet with us, we'll come to Nigeria, but come to Lagos. So that is very annoying. And, you know, we live there, and we've come to your country to look for a partnership. That is how we started saying that this thing has to be internally digested. So the process is that if you look at the IDP camps, most of the men probably were killed. In fact, 98% of the IDP people in Adamawa State are either from Borno or Yobe. Totally, the Adamawa people have gone back to their villages. They've gone back to Madagali, Michika, and so on. But we will not say go back to your state. They are Nigerians, and we are Nigerians. So we started a process of saying, we go to a district head and say, look, we have a problem and we want to partner with you to solve it. If you imagine the life of these people before insurgency, it was not a nice life anyway. So if we can get that before insurgency life of a small traditional house, a farm, a garden that you can do subsistence, certainly we will start creeping up. And I'm telling you, so many of these district heads were actually aligned to this. And
isn't that what they call secondary displacement?
That is not, well, I mean, what else would you do? You have to be scientific about this. You want to do throw them out. We want to look at the fortunes at the bottom of the pyramid. The only other thing probably I will encourage the DG is that to us in Adamawa State, on one side we hear Adamawa State is the largest producer of rice. We don't process. We don't have the capacity. On the other side, other reports will say there is hunger breeding up in Adamawa State. It does not add up. And so the food that is coming to Adamawa State, we would love to see the rice we are producing being processed in Adamawa State. So it actually breeds the entrepreneurship and so there's internal benefit of the whole issue.
I'm wondering, Dr. Bendre, still with you. You prefaced your response to my question by saying, look, this thing is a business, even though it's a business being carried on by not-for-profit organizations. Is there a racket involved in the management of IDPs?
I think any of these definitions, if you move into it very deeply, you will see that there is secrecy. People come and they spying. They can take terrible pictures of your people. Even if there is no IDP, go to any village in Nigeria, you can get terrible pictures. People without clean water, people living near their huts, roads are terrible, and so on and so forth. And because the West looks at Africa, and particularly these our countries, as terrible countries, so these pictures sell. So it's not a business of let me make billions of naira, but when you see people who have come to work in villages, they are the ones that are driving jeeps. They like police to protect in areas where the protection is very, very meager. They want to make sure that they come with their medication to solve problems of people without medicine and so on. It's ridiculous. So if you decide to be a humanitarian, come as a humanitarian. Live where these people are living. Feel it. And then you can do something about it. But you stay in a hotel with jeeps, with long aerials connecting your internet supply and so on. And then you go to these people, take pictures and rob children that, of course,
I'm wondering, Claire, I think this is a point that Nema should speak to again. Because we're talking here, we asked the question just before we take tweets, you know, coming in from viewers. I asked earlier about the coordination of the various actors who are involved in providing humanitarian service, and you then talked about the response plan that the government has. But here we are, what we're seeing, I mean, the points being articulated by the Secretary of the Adamawa State Government, that are we looking more closely at the efficiency of the various players, you know, in providing humanitarian service to the IDPs, or the IDPs have just become, as it were, helpless victims, you know, who, yes?
Well, coordination is being done. We know the activities of all the actors. We assess them. There is a proper monitoring and evaluation team that does all those aspects of feedback from what any agency or organization is doing. However, the issue of some people sitting in the hotels, yes, it's true, that is the practical what is happening, but the reality is, do they provide these needed items? They do. That is the truth. They do. In April, May, when their funding was scaled down, precisely some of the countries do not give them. That is when people started saying that there is malnutrition, there is hunger. The government quickly, within 2 weeks, stepped up and moved in, and the whole thing, the issue of hunger, died out a natural death.
So
today,
there's no more issue of hunger?
There is no hunger for today, I'm telling you. Totally, of course.
The IDP camps?
No hunger, because we provide food items required as internationally provided by the WHO.
Okay, sorry. Let's
monthly.
Digi, let's pause you. Let's pause you and quickly take this tweets that have come in. Kingsley, you want to?
Well, we have this from Emmanuel Osuji. Osuji tweets, says, all the issues bedeviling the nation are the result of leadership failure of successive governments.
And Festus Akinboiwa tweets, government at all levels should work together to provide social welfare and healthcare services to IDPs, and the IDPs themselves should be given meaningful opportunities to participate in their host communities.
Sonny Michael Omakoji tweets, now it says IDPs living like refugees in their own countries despite huge budgetary allocation and donations from donors as a result of insincerity and corruption on the part of our leaders at the helm of affairs. Says government should declare a state of emergency on IDPs.
And Bola Nuga tweets, it's a shame that we as a nation haven't been able to handle this issue properly. Nationals being fugitive in their own country and abused.
Well, no fugitive exactly. A fugitive is someone who is fleeing from justice. All right, Mohammed Jamil Sadara tweets, says, of all war situations, the aftermath of it is the most critical a nation must not toy with. Rehabilitation of affected population is very important if we don't want many good hands to turn into the devil's workshop overnight. And the continuing says, IDP issues are internal problem. We must be able to take care of it as a nation. If we fail to manage it, we have the risk potentially of an increase in juvenile delinquency of the affected community. That this can equally spread across the nation in no distant time.
And Festus Akimboyewa again says, thanks to NTA for raising discussion on the plight of the IDPs again. Indeed, the more the media highlights the plight of IDPs, the more attention they get from organizations that can improve their conditions.
Ibrahim Tudu has this tweet. It is my opinion that the coordination and security architecture in the Northeast needs to be redesigned, overhauled, and monitored. Security officials should secure the region inch by inch. They should not only get rid of Boko Haram, but criminality.
All right. Just before we let the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and IDPs, Madam, just before we let you go, just a quick response to this issue. Dr. Binder talked about, decamping, so to speak, the IDPs, and of course integrating them in other villages. I was quick to point out that that might refer to what they call secondary displacement. Now, is there any reason why the IDPs can't return, to their original, homes and villages?
Well, the only reason why they cannot return for now is because of the security situation. If the security situation is safe for them to return, most of them will love to return home. And on the area of even reintegration, the Commission has started doing that local reintegration. From the camps even, we've selected some vulnerable women in the camps that wants to leave the camp. And we've decided to get a rented place for them within Maiduguri metropolis. And they are now, they have a normal life. We've engaged them in community service where we pay them when they do that. So local integration is part of the durable solution we proffer to these IDPs. And I think in as much as everybody is doing his best, I'm sure that more needs to be done, really.
All right, we'd like to appreciate you, of course, for giving us some of your time. We know you have a tight schedule you must run off. Thank you very much for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you very much for having me.
Sadia Umar Farouk, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria, and our focus this morning is on the plight of the IDPs. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Why don't you people sell imported materials here? As beautiful as the shop is.
Auntie. Buying foreign goods does not help our economy. Neither does it boost local production. And the good thing is Nigerian-made products are high quality. And to make Nigeria great again, that is why I only sell made in Nigeria products. Because change begins with me.
I'm convinced. Change begins with me too.
Change begins with me.
This message is brought to you by the National Orientation Agency in conjunction with the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Right, welcome back. You're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Today we're looking at the plight of the IDP camps, of course, across the country. And we have just been joined by Mr. Ezenwa Nwagu. He's the convener, Say No campaign. Mr. Nwagu, thank you very much for joining us for this conversation.
Good morning.
All right, Chris.
All right, Ezenwa, before you came in, of course, I'm sure you had the opportunity of monitoring the conversation with 3 guests, the Federal Commissioner in charge of the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Displaced Persons will sign off. We still have the Secretary to the Adamawa State Government, Dr. Umar Bendri, right here with us, as well as the DG NEMA. They've spoken to different aspects. Now, but there was a workshop that the Say No campaign was involved with at Yola, when the grim picture that came out in terms of the communique issued at the end of that forum is a matter that's been disputed by at least DG NEMA as well as the Federal Commissioner in charge of IDPs and migrants and refugees. What do we know from the perspective of the Say No campaign and others who participated at the evaluative forum?
Well, thank you very much. I think my summary of what I heard is to say that no country solves a problem that it denies. When you hoist a workshop, you don't invent the conversation. Most of the people that you draw into the conversation would, in fact, be government officials. You will have NGOs who are on ground, and then you have the media, local media. So what it then means is that the constellation of the conversation will be such that you are able to put a mirror out. Now, people may not like what they see in the mirror. They may begin to worry about the nature of the mirror. The mirror is bent, it's not. But the reflection in that mirror, what you need to do is not to deny what is there. Reality is that we don't play politics with the mystery, with the misfortune of our fellow citizens. And if we continue to do that and politicize everything, then we will come to a point where, as a nation, we will have failed our citizens. Now, the challenge in the IDP conversation is that nobody is spared, not even the civil society organizations, not the INGOs. Is a whole gamut of connivance to ensure, and I include everybody, the INGOs, the CSOs, government officials, are involved in undermining the well-being of our fellow citizens. So, having said that, the workshop took place in Yola. It didn't take place in Abuja, and it will not take place inside the IDP camp. It will take place in a hotel. We will invite people to that hotel to have these conversations. And like I said, if I were to be NTA, I would not invite the secretary to the government of. I would not invite. Yes, I will invite perhaps the emergency management agency, SEMA, who in reality in the past 6 months told us that they have only got 1 million naira from the state government as inflow, and they were saying, no, don't talk about it. And I said, I'm going to talk about it. If as a government that prides in the well-being of, whether even if they are from Yobe State or they are from Borno State, they are Nigerians and they find themselves located in Adamawa State, I think we have responsibility to take care of them. What are the clear issues that we're facing? We've been demarcated IDPs from formal and informal. Now, the one in St. Teresa's, the Reverend Father who is in charge of that camp was in our meeting, and he poured out his heart. Truth is that IDPs are sexually molested. As we speak now, there is high rate of HIV infestation. We need to deal with that challenge. We need to deal with it. There is already a federal government report about security agencies getting involved in sexually molesting. We want that excavated. We want that dealt with and solved. We want the issue of diversion of materials. The 261 trucks of about 600 bags, how many has come to the IDP camp? About less than 20 trucks have been relieved. And this is we're saying the vice president should, because it's a presidential that committee on distribution of these things in Northeast. The vice president should investigate what has happened to those trucks and where they are at this point. If they are being distributed piecemeal, we need to know how come the things, the necessities and essentials meant for IDPs are found in markets in the Northeast, sold openly, brazenly. And many times they say, oh, it is the IDPs that sell them. So what needs to be done is that the media needs to pay closer attention, much more closer attention than the politics that all of us are playing. The INGOs are involved. Civil society organizations will go to camps, do big banners, you know, present maybe paltry number of toilet tissues, and then present a banner for the funder. All of those goes on. But nobody should politicize that. What we need to do is to confront the challenges that we face and see how we ameliorate the conditions and well-being of our citizens who are in those IDP camps.
All right, guys, thank you. Thank you. Let me bring in Dr. Binder. Dr. Binder, you've just heard Ezenwa and all this is, he's not just speculating now, he's quoting, you know, the state emergency, you know, agency, the officials of whom are on ground. With regards to the sexual and gender-based violence, how is the state government addressing this issue as well as the other issues that Mr. Nwagu has raised?
Thank you very much. When you focus discussions on IDPs, people sitting in one area, the assumption is that these are the only people that you have. You are in an environment where the poverty incidence generically is above 60%, right? And poverty is a long equation. It has a food component, it has a security component, it has a health component, it has an education component. Look, there are communities in many of these affected states whereby the children in normal villages don't have access to the bits and pieces that IDP centers have. So this is the mixture of the whole thing. And NGOs coming to do their best should do their best. These things that you see happening in these states are actually very highly scientific. You don't just go and look at a tiny project and then you dig into it like a policeman. Look, have your detail, your booklet to say that I have been to state A and the total number of formal IDPs are 10. The informal, this is up to you. People who are living in my mother's house because they are related, they are IDPs, they have moved from a village, are not documented. They generically refer to them as host community people. You get what I mean? Then the next, you can say, this is what is required to generically daily look after people. Education requirement is not a daily thing. It is about going to a school, having a teacher, having teaching materials. This is a problem everywhere you go to, not just in IDPs. In fact, IDPs children in most cases are getting more education bits and pieces than even normal people in villages. So we don't join issues. It's not about politics.
It is not a matter of joining issues.
Yes.
There is a situation. How are you addressing it?
Of course, yes. There are problems. There are problems. In fact, when we go to IDPs and then you see hundreds of children, the first thing that hits you is, where is this all coming from? The rate of birth and rebirth is just huge in the centers. It certainly means that the people who have come here must have come with their husbands, or they are now married, or it's just happening anyhow. It's a problem. And that is why we have NEMA and ATSEMA working together constantly to feed the government with these details. There are a lot of these accusations that people are, it's not new to us. And police, there are even accusations that the security agents are involved. If you go to a place whereby it is in the middle of the bush, that is where the center is, right? You have to travel like 10 kilometers or so to get there. Go there at night. Don't go there in the day. Then you will see the challenges.
Right.
The government...
I'm wondering, sorry, Kensler, I'll let you. I'm wondering why Mr. Ezenwa, you know, would rather have someone else, you know, in the place of...
no, but he will tell us. No, Ezenwa has no control over whom we invite. I mean, just as we opted to invite him to the program. I'm wondering, but Dr. Binder, that's a point I want to we will pause you, because you talked about underfunding of SEMA that you will respond to. But DG NEMA, there are issues now, a restatement of sexual harassment. There is harassment, if not molestation, sex for favors including food and other supplies, plus alleged diversion of those supplies. You talked about several tons of food, you know, meant for IDPs and so on and so forth. But Ezenwa is alleging that, arising from their workshop or forum, that there have been instances of diversion and that the diverted food items are openly sold in the markets.
Well, let me take a little time to explain to you the structure. These items are stored in government locations across the country. They have to be moved to the northeast. This movement was done under highly secured 10 trucks with 2 hillocks of armed policemen, 8 in each. These trucks are fitted with electronic devices. They have been monitored from force headquarters, NEMA headquarters, and at Maiduguri. We monitor their movement 24/7 up to the delivery point in the warehouse of NEMAs across Northeast. Where we don't have enough warehouses, we rented them. We equip them as we equipped others. I can assure you today, there is no reported cases along that route. Not a single grain was reported missing. From there, we have dedicated personnel. We move about 250 personnel across the nation to participate in this exercise. This food, we've already enumerated the number of people in wherever they are, including deliberated locations. We have full-fledged air assets by the Air Force to move items that we cannot even go by road. Aircrafts and other things move them. Well, you cannot say you have 100% free, operations where there are no excesses. There could be small excesses. What I expect anyone that spoils a diversion should have informed the police, arrest those people. I know a case where somebody was caught in his, in his house rebagging soybeans. Police were informed, SS were there, that person was arrested and it was investigated. So, you understand? The people, they went to the camp, met those that sold the soybeans to them. It is now government realized soybeans in Adama environment is not used. They took it to the market themselves, sell it in. That is the report. I have the documented report.
No, who took it? Who took the food items to the market? The IDPs?
But the IDPs. The IDPs sold them to, listen, we have a police report, a written police report by the Commissioner of Police in Adamawa. I have it today in the office. What was
the incentive for taking it to the market?
The idea is they don't process soybeans in the north. They don't even know how to use it. This is a fact. The next phase, the government was advised to replace the soybeans with normal beans. This memo is right in the with the presidency for approval for replacement of that aspect, and that is only a single case.
Let me ask you,
before you
continue.
Yeah.
With regards to the over 200 truckload of grains that Mr. Wango referred to, where are the remaining 200? He said
I am not aware of where 200 trucks were moved. Why this case was not reported to the police? Why is it only somebody personal that knows the information? Why was it not taken to the officials who are responsible to investigate? It's only somebody who feels he must know this information and keep it to himself and report it to the press. It should be reported to the police.
I'm wondering, DG Nema, let's pause you. Mr. Ezewa Wango, back to you. You listened to the response by both Dr. Bindri and the DG of NEMA. Are there exaggerations in terms of alleged diversion of food supplies and other needs of IDPs?
Well, I think that the restructuring that the DG NEMA is performing right now in NEMA and the challenges that he faces underscores the fact that what we are raising are strong issues that are there. And even in the conversation, what we are dealing with is scale. People are talking about the scale and not whether these things are real. I think we need to deal with, first, it's not just soya beans. There were cases of date palm. The date palm that were given by, I think it's the Saudi Arabian government or the rest of them, they went into private homes. In fact, one of the participants from the university, Modibo University, who is a senior lecturer at that university, attested to the fact that he was even gifted with some of the date palms and that he felt very worried about that because they bore the emblem of gifts to the IDP camp. I'm not, for me really, what is of concern to us as Say No campaign is to put these issues in the front burner and get everyone who has responsibility to solve the problem, to face it head on. You see, the big issue around, for instance, FIDA was in the workshop, and we told FIDA, how could you be in Adamawa State? How could you be in Northeast? And then we've not been able to escalate the issue of sexual exploitation and gender-based violence. And the response is, look, people are not talking. But we said there are already cases that are in the front burner, that is almost being swept under the carpet. Is it possible for these issues to be raised, to be brought back to the issue? The people from the media, News Agency of Nigeria, leadership newspapers, all of the people who were there were accusing the camp officials of even obstructing their work within the IDP camp, that they are not allowing them to come. They request passes and the rest of them from them to be able to do their work. Our concern is not to put anybody on the hot seat. It is simple that these people are citizens of Nigeria. Don't even think about the fact that they are IDP camp. Think about what they are losing, what they left behind. What is it that they suffer? What about the psychological trauma? When are we going to sit down to begin to deal with these issues? And I'm happy that a new man is on the saddle in Nema who is focusing attention on all of that. But we said, do more. Get journalists, get people to excavate these issues for you so that you can deal with them. Leave the government officials in the states. They are indeed, for me, part of the problem. And for them, it is to continue to politicize the issue, give the impression that those who are doing work don't know what they are doing and that they are in some place, in one place. It is not possible for you to get intel on things that are happening except you are working with the people who are on the ground. If a journalist has worked in Northeast for 10 years and has been involved since 2014 when the issue of the IDP was at the topmost, that journalist has information and his report should be taken very seriously. So my sense is that this program that NTA is putting out is to say, look, government officials, the vice president who should coordinate that presidential committee on the distribution of food for the Northeast should investigate these issues. It's not to dismiss them on the wave of hand and say, oh no, people should go and report to the police. We are now bringing it out. Find out whether what we're saying is the truth. If it is not the truth, what do you lose?
All right,
you lose nothing.
All right, Mr. Magu, thank you. Let's pause here. We've received a number of tweets. And just to also add to what you have said, NTA was in Maiduguri some time back. That's in May. And we did visit one of the IDP camps, Bakassi camp, in the city. And we reported the situation. Of course, the conditions and the deplorable situation the IDPs, are living. So I don't think any of our guests here has denied, that the situation, exists. I think what we are talking about is addressing, whether or not we are actually addressing the issues. We have Mike Ayako, Twitter, and he says, what is happening at the different IDPs in the country is very ridiculous. In short, it is an act of infamy. The government should take a decisive step or decisive steps to nip it in the bud.
This is from Monday Arisha. It says if we are actually winning the war against Boko Haram insurgency, why do we still have a huge number of our citizens in IDP camps? And
Kabir Ibrahim tweets, as a government official, how can you compare the way of living with present life? Was their previous life their wish? The issues of IDP will hardly come to an end because the officials have gotten an opportunity of earning a living. Please tell us when the IDPs will be closed. I guess this question is referring to Dr. Bender.
Adisha Abiose tweets, now it's unfortunate some people believe there's money in crisis and such persons will never pray for it to end, even if they have given responsibility to manage the crisis.
And Adeza Jamil from Kenya tweets, why are there so many agencies handling IDP camps? The huge amount of money spent on these agencies is enough to rehabilitate the poor people and set them back to business where they will become dependable and reliable to the society.
We have this tweet from Nosa Aladeshelu. It says, please include in your discussion today the IDPs hosted by a faith-based organization in Edo State. Now, no one seems to have mentioned them. I hope they have not forgotten.
And Professor Nasser Idris tweets, is it true that the reason why we still have IDP camps is because of corruption? Some NGOs and others, name withheld, are benefiting. We need clarification, please.
Ibrahim Tudu tweets, other victims of cattle rustlers, armed bandits, and terrorism in other states are not being taken care of. What is the assistance to IDPs in Zamfara, for example?
And Jibril Naina tweets, it's inhuman, if true, that some officials managing the IDPs do divert the aids to their pockets. Governments should do more and more for them. The Northeast Development Commission should have taken effect since, to me.
All right, those are the second set of tweets that we have. Let's get the closing thoughts of our guests now. We're on the home stretch for this conversation. Dr. Bindre, Secretary to Adamawa State Government. We're dealing with a population of about 2 million IDPs nationwide. Of course, excuse me, please. You've also talked about how Adamawa is focused on this, but from the reports that we get, is there a sense that we are on top of the situation in actually providing the desired humanitarian assistance to these IDPs? If not, what do we need to do? If we're already doing so, what do we need to do more?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think already this, you started by hitting the nail on the head on the need for coordination, so that you put all efforts well focused to be able to address certain things. I cannot resist, it's a closing remark, to react to some of the submissions on food seen in the markets and so on and so forth. Mark you, food is actually has a due date. You know, a good example is the date palm. It was sent during Ramadan. Everybody knows Muslims use 2 or 3 to break their fast. It has an expiration date, and a huge amount of that was brought to the state. In fact, it's not even looking, it looks like a cake. You cannot even break it. We're used to that, you get 3, and then you break the 3, and this one, there's no 3, it's just a paste. It's like somebody rejected it somewhere and then just pushed it. And I'm sure in the process of the management, it's better to give even to common people than to throw it away when it is going to expire by the end of the same thing goes with corn. Same thing goes with rice. If you go to the storage of NEMA sometimes, you cannot resist smelling, you know, leftovers and so on, which is food. Food is food. But you see, to us as a state, the rallying point is that we would love to see that this is over. It should not be a recurring decimal facilitating for emergence of further NGOs who are not very clear on their role to make it finish scientifically, than to increase the fires all over the place. We are focused, we are, you know, to separate ATSEMA, which is Adamawa State Emergency Management Agency, with government officials. This guy reports to me, if you know what I mean. And budgets, everybody knows in this country, resources are tight. It's not just IDP budget. This is a budget for everything. But you are doing your best. We are making sure that these people have skills. We are making sure that they go to a level of economic independence. Maybe whether it is prostitution or abuse or anything, it's a result of some kind of bait, you know, come and get something. But if you are economically independent, we are doing this. We are trying to engage local NGOs. There's a specific NGO that is very good, led by one Asma Joda, daughter of the Ahmed Joda, of the famous Ahmed Joda, you know. Even prosecuting people who are found in homes abusing their wives, not to talk of, they have permanent camps in NGOs. So our approach is to try our best to make sure that we are all Nigerians, we are all from Adamawa State, and we resolve this to the best of our ability. And we're working with our partners to make sure that we achieve this objective.
All right, let's have a closing remark from DJ Nema. As 2017, you know, winds down and we're entering 2018, do we have a kind of an integrated strategy to address the issues?
Well, before I mention that, I want to just clarify a point. We are not saying that we should not get report. In fact, I need report. All I want is, when it is happening, let us know, because we want to catch the culprits if it is really happening. That is why I'm really disturbed. Let's get them. But as I am speaking to you, a committee is working deep down to find out such kind of, we receive such kind of allegations, but I have not seen one really that, I mean, it happened, diversion happened. I have not seen one other than the one I have mentioned. Even that one, it was a report. We quickly swing into action. Both security agencies were involved. Coming back to the closing remarks, I want to assure Nigerians, this government never politicized the issue of IDP. It went in head-on to make sure that it resolved the matter. And it's going further to see how these things will end. Everyone can attest to the fact that the government is working hard to make sure that this issue of internally displaced persons comes to an end. We all have sleepless nights to ensure this happens. The government is doing all it can do to stop this. But there is limit as humans to what we can do. But surely I believe the commitment is there. The efforts are being put by all parties. The government is on our neck. Do something about this. Rehabilitation and reintegration is going on. We are thinking of other means coming in from the safe zones, creating communities so that we displace these people. This program is being planned as I'm speaking to you. The government surely in 2018 will have a different story, I believe. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. As a Wangu, what do NGOs and international NGOs and CSOs need to do more in order to ensure that there is more effective humanitarian service delivery to the IDPs?
Well, I think we need to shut down the economy of corruption that everybody is involved in, including the INGOs, the CSOs, and the government officials. Until we shut down that corruption economy, the plight of the IDPs will continue to worsen. For us, is to, as media and civil societies, to collaborate to shame those who are involved in whether it is sexual exploitation or diversion of the essentials for the IDPs. We will continue to focus attention on ensuring that all those who are involved in exploiting the misery and misfortune of our citizens are exposed. And like Obieze Kwesili keeps saying, which is what I said in my opener, no country can make progress denying the challenges that it faces.
All right, as Wangu, convener Say No campaign, we'd like to appreciate you being part of our discussion this morning. Our thanks also go to the Director General of NEMA, that's Engineer Mustafa Mejana. That's Mehaja.
Thank you very
Mehaja.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for being part of our discussion. And also, we'd like to thank Dr. Umar Brindrit, Secretary to the Adamawa State Government, all the way from Yola. Thanks a lot for being part of our discussion today. Okay, so that does it for our discussion. Let's go over now to our sports desk.
Nigeria's home-based